I'd now like to invite Phoebe to join us and to share all about how Duncan and Livin have been creating their pitch for their team task.
Go for it, you'll be amazing.
Have you got Bertie?
Yeah.
Hi everybody, I just wanted to let you know that I'm so proud of my young people to start with, but introduce a little bit about their team task. You might notice that we've not got two of my competitors in the room. You know what the modern world's like at the moment. Unfortunately, it throws some barriers and curveballs in our way. One of my competitors came down with COVID, but he doesn't mean he wants to not compete. He has so much passion, along with Livin, to compete in the competition today. They're ready. I thought this would throw them curveballs. I thought this would panic them. Unfazed, completely unfazed. When we were planning the competition and planning their team task, they astounded me. It personally made me step back and think about our first aid kits and how I can be more inclusive on duty. They made me step back and think about their passion. I think that those the two competitors I have, Livin and Duncan, their passion for our volunteers and for the people we treat move mountains. They are so passionate about making things more accessible for our volunteers, but also the patients we treat every day. They've thought about so many different aspects that I couldn't dream of thinking about, and they really did make me want to go home and do some more research myself. I'm so proud of them for overcoming the barriers that were put in their way, and I don't think it will change anything. I'm really excited for you to hear about what they have to say. So, we'll wait a second just so we can get the technology going. But I am really excited. I hope you can see Duncan up there. He's all ready. He's battling through. He's very passionate, so I'm very excited. You ready, Livin, my lovely?
Can be used for patient welfare, but also for accessibility for our own event first aid crews.
We think that iPads will be best suited on the patient front for younger patients, especially those who are neurodivergent, because they are often familiar, easy to use, and provide a distraction from the noise of a typical treatment centre. The iPads will be most useful for those who feel overwhelmed by the bright colours and harsh lighting of a treatment area.
While some may say that iPads are not suitable for older generations and may think they are not key stakeholders, they would be mistaken. Using an iPad could vastly improve their treatment. Using large font sizes and screen readers could help those in older age categories, because PRFs and paperwork that we use for patients may not be easily readable for them.
Another key stakeholder could be our own event first aiders. Many volunteers are visually impaired and struggle to see writing clearly on a PRF. So an iPad could be a way of recording patient details moving forward, allowing them to feel better equipped to treat in our organisation.
We propose that the iPads have a wide range of software on them, allowing for their best utilisation on duty. For first aiders, we would suggest that under a password protected folder, we should install electronic PRF software, the CFR Plus app, DIPS and Connect.
For patients, however, we would see mindfulness apps, mental health leaflets, games and free music players rolled out to ensure that the welfare of our patients is best catered for.
Now, there are many advantages of rolling out iPads into first aid posts. For example, they are very portable. Take the 10.2-inch iPad from 2021. It only weighs 487 grams. It would make very little difference to the weight taken on it.
Furthermore, the iPads themselves are very clinically safe, being wipeable,
especially while they're in protected cases,
meaning they can be used by multiple patients and first aiders, while still maintaining an IPC safe environment, keeping patients both safe and calm. This is especially important whilst we're still fighting the tail end of the dreadful COVID-19 pandemic.
Finally, these iPads, if they're used, as previously mentioned, by first aiders, can start to reduce St John's carbon footprint. By reducing the number of paper PRFs filled out, we can decrease our reliance on natural resources. For reference, One PRF consists of 2 sheets of A3, which is roughly equal to a footprint of 29 grams per PRF. In comparison, 100 PRFs. Libin, how many duties do you think 100 PRFs is worth?
Duncan, I think that's worth 5 duties worth of PRFs.
It would be equivalent to burning 1 litre of petrol.
We want to jump the gun on some of the questions you may have about implementing iPads in our first aid kits. So there are a few disadvantages with implementing iPads, the biggest being the price of them. A 2021 iPad would cost as much as £500 a piece, which is an enormous cost considering that it would have to be rolled out nationally.
However, Apple offers discounts of up to 10% for charities, which could help ease the financial burden of buying these devices. Furthermore, units could fundraise within the local community to help buy the iPads.
Some may say that iPads can be broken easily. As many of you will be aware, dropping an expensive item can be an easy way to waste £200 on a new screen. I certainly know that dropping my phone is a big fear.
I'm the same, Libin. Dropping my phone is definitely a huge fear of mine. Thankfully, protected cases can be sourced easily for relatively little money, allowing for us to protect our devices on duty.
Unfortunately, some members of the public may wish to steal the iPads. Sadly, some do not care that we are a charity.
Luckily, many events have lockboxes for paperwork where the iPad can be stored for when not in use. Also, our new first aid post vans have lockers in the back of them, allowing for electronic devices to be charged and safely stored while on duty. iPads will benefit every person who walks into our first aid posts, whether that's the young, the old, those with disabilities, those scared, or those excited. All these groups can benefit from such a symbol.
So the question remains, why don't iPads already have a place in our wonderful first aid posts?
Okay, Duncan and Livin. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Duncan for joining us, even though he is feeling a little bit poorly. So I'm going to hand you over to Nikita, who will ask you your first question.
First of all, well done for considering beyond the first aid kit. You considered the environment, well-being as well. But my question to you is, what accessibility features would you utilise on the iPad when filling out the forms?
So we could use the screen reader settings and the enlargement settings for people who are visually impaired, and also we could also use the screen reader for people who are visually impaired, and then we could use the different colours for people who may have dyslexia or other neurodivergent problems.
So I really enjoyed your speech. You had a good set of examples in there. My question for you is, your final statement is, why don't we have iPads? Why do you think we don't have iPads?
So as mentioned in the pitch, iPads can be quite expensive, and quite frankly, we might not have enough money to roll them out nationally, but I think through fundraising within our local units, I think that's definitely something that we can try to start implementing. Maybe district-wide or regional-wide first, and then move on to a larger scale, so nationally.
Thank you, Duncan and Libin, for a great presentation. You mentioned how you'd have games on the iPad. If you could only have one game, which game would it be and why?
No, I think that there are lots of games that could be used, but I think something kind of retro like Snake could play to a large audience. I know certainly I'd enjoy Snake, and my parents and their parents would enjoy Snake as well.
So thank you, Duncan and Livin. Livin, you are welcome to take a seat. Duncan, you are most likely already seated.